Karthik Kumar Reddy, working as an assistant professor in Nalla Narasimha Reddy Education Society's group of institutions in the Department of Civil Engineering in Foundation Engineering subject Unit 5. I am going to explain about pile foundations. Now, these were some of the aspects which we have already discussed, which are related to the displacement and non-displacement piles. Now, general characteristics based on piles classified classified on the basis of material of construction that we are going to discuss now. Mainly, I will be taking up three types, that is timber piles, steel piles, and last one is concrete piles. As the name suggests, and you are seeing that the first line states that on the basis of material, that means timber pile. In timber pile, timbers have been used for construction. These piles, steel pile. In the steel piles, steel has been used, and in concrete piles, concrete is used. So, in the case of timber piles, a timber pile is primarily a trunk of a tree with its branch chopped off. An iron shoe may be provided at the tip and iron cap at the top to prevent damage during driving. So, it is just as its name suggests, it is made up of timber, and to avoid any damage to this pile, at the top and at the bottom iron cap, they are very cheap and easy to handle. Length up to 30 meter has been used for this. I mean, various places till the maximum depth of 30 meter has been reached. These timber piles can be used in situations of fluctuating water table. These should be suitably treated to enhance their lives, because when a timber is in contact with water, it has a tendency to disintegrate. So, to avoid that, it should be properly treated. An untreated pile above water table is likely to be eaten away by insects, pods, termites, etc. And hence, now the allowable loads on these piles, they vary from 100 to 250 kilonewton per pile. See, why I am giving these guidelines means you have to know which type of piles you have to use for based upon the type of material availability. That is, usually when you will be going when we are going for construction, it will be our decision which type of pile, what should be the length, and what should be the diameter, and finally, so if you know the property of typical piles of different types, you can make your choice easily depending on whatever is the conditions at the site. You can pick that if the load is lesser, if there is no water table present, if it is suitable for timber piles. Let us see what are the main features, salient features of for steel piles. These are small displacement piles. As we have seen that wherever we have to minimize the vibration of the disturbance, there we use small displacement piles, and usually they are called as steel piles. Heave and ground displacements are minimal in this case. It may be a rolled section or a pipe or any fabricated shape. You know that different I section, X section, they are available. They can be used as steel piles. These require heavy equipment for driving because their weight is very high, and they are precast, and we just cannot cause them at the site only. Why you require heavy equipment for them means the piles are made of seamless or welded pipes and are usually filled with concrete. So these pipes may be driven close ended with a driving point or open ended. You see, what happens is, let us say that you have driving it. In the case of pipe, both the ends can be open. So we can simply drive that particular pile and pour the concrete into it. The end which is at larger depth, it can be close ended or it can be open also. Steel piles can be used to carry very heavy loads. Splicing of this is also easy. Now these are likely to be affected by corrosive action and hence needed painting. So So in case of timber piles, the water was main problem. The presence of water was the main problem in the timber piles. However, in case of steel piles, it is the corrosion. Commonly adopted length is up to 40 meters and allowable load can be up to 800 kilonewton per pile. So you see in the case of timber pile it was around 200 to 50 kilonewton, and here now concrete piles, these are considered more or less permanent based on mode of forming and mode of installation. They are usually divided into two categories. First is driven precast concrete piles, second is cast in situ. Basically you will see that for all the practical purposes usually these concrete piles are provided. They are more or less permanent in nature and two categories driven precast. So you see the mode of installing the pile is by driving. However, the mode of its forming or its construction is precast, that is being casted at the workshop and it has been transferred to the site. Then cast in situ, it is being casted on the spot only. Let us first have a look on some of the salient points on driven precast concrete piles. It is getting driven by some mechanical means due to vibration, hammering. It has been constructed or casted at workshop. It has been transported to the site. So wherever there is a precast pile, its size shape is going to be fixed. You cannot alter them. Usually these are prismatic or circular in cross section. That is, a cross section is either it can be of uniform diameter throughout its depth or it can be tapered depending upon the requirement. They are usually casted at the central casting yard, cured and then transported to the construction site. Wherever you need to use concrete to attain its full strength, you have to properly cure that. The transportation to the construction site. Now, as the precast concrete pile is usually in a state of compression, no reinforcement is required from load bearing consideration. So, you simply cast there with the help of concrete, it gets cured, transported and then simply drive it at the site. However, piles are reinforced to take care of handling stresses. Although from the load bearing point of view, you do not require any kind of reinforcement. However, for stresses, you need to provide some reinforcement soil sections of 0.2 meters to 0.3 meters heights. Now, precast hollow cylindrical sections are also used where large stiffness is used. Although in our country, India, these hollow sections are not so popular. However, in abroad, many countries this has been used in the construction. Then what is the load area, load range? That is, shorter piles can carry loads up to 600 kilonewton, whereas the capacity of longer piles can be as large as 2000 kilonewton. So you saw that in the last one, when we are, however, in the case if you go for longer piles, then this capacity is of the order of 2000 kilonewton. In this one, splicing is difficult. If the pile at the side proves to be too long, chopping of the extra length is difficult and is likely to damage the pile. As I explained you earlier when I started this particular topic, that any alteration of precast concrete pile, type of pile, that in case of that is at a site you find that the particular size is not suitable, it is difficult to alter the size and shape. Then it is handling and driving requires heavy equipment. Then heave and disturbance of surrounding soil may also cause difficulty. So it is precast, and if you can imagine that pile diameter of 1 meter and of length 25 meter, if it is precast and we have to got transported, and how difficult it will be to carry that upward and then to drive. So that requires very heavy equipment, and that in that particular process lot of ground heave and disturbance of the surrounding soil takes place, which may cause problem to the neighboring structure or surrounding soil. Now, cast in situ concrete piles. Cast in situ means it is being casted at the site itself. These piles, if they are formed by making a hole in the ground and filling it with concrete, the hole is usually called as borehole. This hole may be formed by drilling, as in cations, that is bored cast in situ. Usually it is formed by driving a metallic shell or a. So you must understand the difference between this bored and driven term at this particular point. So in the case bored cast in situ pile, the hole may be formed by drilling a, as in case of cations. You simply, you simply go on drilling and then you take out the material and the hole is formed. Usually it is formed in the ground. So if you drive the casing, you will take it out and that way the void or this borehole will be formed. If during the process of concreting the hole, the casing is left in position, then it is termed as cased pile. Let us say that here, as I told you, that in case of driven cast in situ pile, the hole, but the borehole is formed by casing, driving the casing. If you leave the casing as it is in the position, then that particular type of pile is called as cased pile. If in case this casing is withdrawn gradually, in that case it is called as uncased pile position, or it can be withdrawn accordingly. Uncased piles can be of different diameter and may be provided with an enlarged end or a pedestal. So in case if you have to drive, so today what we saw that I introduced you that what exactly are the deep, how they are different from shallow foundations as far as the load transferring mechanism is considered. How they can be classified like end bearing, friction piles, compaction piles, etc. Then we saw that how it is based on the mode of construction they are formed, that is when a pile is getting constructed or getting installed, then it is causing a lot of displacement around the surrounding soil, then it is called as displacement pile. Otherwise it is non-displacement pile. And then we saw that based on the material of construction how the piles are classified, that is timber piles. We saw some of the aspects, main salient features of timber piles. In concrete piles we saw both